there, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on Aso Morning this day. It's both wet and a bit dry this morning here in the city of Abuja. And some of us are wondering, should I lay back? But because we are productive Nigerian youths and not lazy Nigerian youths, we have to come up and start doing what we have to do for the day. I hope you're having just as wonderful a morning as I am. Thank you so much for joining us. But as usual here on the show, we start with the newspaper review segment where we look at stories that make front page this morning, analyze those stories, and get you informed with all that is going on. And after that, we move on to our interview segment. Today is Monday, or rather Wednesday. Why am I confusing it? I guess the days are not running as fast as it should. But today is Wednesday. For followers of the show, you already know that every Wednesday we have a by day where she gives us sustainability pulse, that very important segment that goes through environmental adaptability, climate change, how you can be responsible and responsive to our earth. We move on from there to join agriculture for today and tomorrow. Another very impactful segment that ensures that you know how you can be part of the agricultural drive for food security in our nation. And that'll be it for Aso Morning. We're going for a short break to return with the newspapers. We'll be right back.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Welcome back from that break. It's time for the newspaper review segment where we look at front page stories this morning, analyze those stories, and tell you what's going on around the world. Well, this morning we would jumpstart the segment with the Vanguard newspaper. And the Vanguard is leading with the story, Federal Government Battles IMF over report on inflation and poverty. Federal government, the Nigerian federal government, is battling the IMF over report on inflation and poverty. And the writer here says, worries that such statements can turn people against government. Notes body's advisory messages often in conflict with its lending stance. That's exactly where I was going. Is it not the same advisory, or rather the IMF, let's not just talk about the advisory body, the IMF, that is always willing to give Nigerian loans in spite of what they say about our country, the rate of inflation, the rate of of poverty in our country? Is it not this same IMF that is constantly willing to do that, even when sometimes citizens look at the so-called infrastructure that was basis for lending, for borrowing these monies, and nothing is going on? When you call again and apply for loans, whether it's a state government or federal government, the IMF is always constantly ready to give you money. So how do you come from having this stance about the federal government to about Nigeria to having lending us monies without question? I know we are good for the loans, but okay. So I'm trying to get what the IMF really said about Nigeria. I'm trying to get the article that the government is responding to, rather. It said the International Monetary Fund has raised concern over the lack of a robust social safety net to protect poor Nigerians from adverse effects of ongoing economic reforms. In an article published on its website on Monday, the fund said that although Nigeria has made progress with recent reforms, poverty and food insecurity remains widespread, and the absence of a proper social buffer poses a risk to inclusive growth. The article, jointly written by the IMF's mission chief to Nigeria, Excel Shimelfgeng, and its resident representative in Nigeria, Christian Ebeke, stressed that that while policy shifts undertaken since 2023 have started to yield positive results, millions of Nigerians are yet to feel the impact. Nigerians lack an effective social safety net to cushion the impact of shocks on most vulnerable, the IMF said, noting that scaling up the existing cash transfer system will be key to making growth more inclusive. Remember that initiative, the cash transfer initiative of the past administration. It was part of the economic initiatives that the Buhari administration initiated. And this same IMF had economic experts that said it was not sustainable and it was not a long-term good plan to just do unconditional transfers, unconditional cash transfers, that's to what they termed as the vulnerable. Cash that was not accounted for. You're not sure who gets what, how impactful that money is. Although people may be, how would I put this now, responsible enough to use that cash for something more valuable in their lives, like starting businesses, upscaling businesses with the monies. We have also seen instances where they tell you how, now government money, let us go eat it, and that's it. So yes, according to the IMF, let me continue this, it noted that the Bola Tinubu administration inherited a challenging economy marked by weak growth, falling per capita income, and rising poverty. It added that between 2014 and 2023, Nigeria's real per capita GDP declined by an average of 0.7% annually, with the poverty rate at 42% in 2023. The fund said that government had since embarked on a series of bold economic reforms, including liberalization of the foreign exchange market, halting central bank financing of deficits, and removal of fuel subsidies. It also acknowledged that improvement in revenue collection, although Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio remains among the lowest in the world. According to the IMF, these measures have helped stabilize the economy to an extent, with foreign exchange now more accessible through official channels, international reserves rising, and Nigeria's return to the international capital market last December described as a success. However, it warned that challenges persist. Inflation remains above 20%. Infrastructure, particularly power supply, continues to constrain growth and oil revenues, which still accounts for about 30% of government income and vulnerable to global price shocks. IMF identified 3 policy priorities for Nigeria going forward. It said that the country, that's where I'm going to with this gist. I want to see the recommendations of the IMF and also marry it to the fact that it has not affected the lending stance of the IMF. We are constantly ready to collect, to be given loans. Immediately Nigeria applies, the IMF is constantly ready to pay. But that is it. It's talking about, you could pick the paper to read details of this. We'll just quickly run through the conversation right here. Moving away from that story, the IMF story reporting about the inflation in Nigeria and government's rebuttal of that story. We have 2023, ADC will collapse in 6 months. The presidency is declaring ADC will collapse in 6 months. Remember, ADC is the party that was adopted by this coalition that has the convergence of people in every political party. That's the conversation we'll be having really shortly. The ADC, what is in it? What plans do they have? How sustainable is it? But moving on from that story, still on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, federal government pegs admission age at 16 as vice chancellor set UTME cutoff mark at 150. There was such a time. I remember when I wrote exams, when I wrote my JAMB and subsequent post-UME. I think the year I wrote was the year they started post-UME, and I was like, for crying out loud. Anywho, when I wrote my JAMB at the time, I think the cutoff mark to study law was so high, and I got it. Yet I didn't have an opportunity to study law. I think it was at 250 and I got 260. My parents were so happy, and yet I didn't get. So transparency in this process is everything. It's not just about bringing the cutoff mark to as low as 150. What happens to that filtration system that ensures the best of the best have opportunities? Or are we making it so low so that whoever cares, whoever now has, it now becomes survival of the fittest. Whoever has somebody that has somebody that has somebody in the school will now ensure admission, and not necessarily a cutoff mark that will determine who gets in. I just hope that's not the case. That's my fear, because I have been through that process where, in spite of having the cutoff mark, which was very high at the time, I did not get admission. It was devastating for a young me who really wanted to study law. Who knows? I probably would have been a very successful lawyer by now, but no regrets. I love journalism. Now, moving on from that story, FCT administration, Ireti Kingibe, Wike locked in verbal war. Yes, I don't know if you saw Wike's aide asking the Minister of the FCT, Senator Kingibe, about the 3 billion that was allocated. The pressure is getting worse, like young people will say. Moving away from that, U.S. tightens visa rules for Nigerians, limits validity to 3 months single entry. That's it for the Vanguard newspaper. Quickly, we move now to the This Day newspaper this morning. This Day also taking us straight to the political happenings around Nigeria. It says ADC, Tinubu's failure behind U.S. snub. Tinubu's failure behind U.S. snub. And then the APC is retorting. It says ADC is mortally wounded. ADC is mortally wounded. And the writer here says Mark declares party. Not Mark Zuckerberg here now. This is David Mark, who has become the substantive national chairman of the ADC. Mark declares party has no preferred presidential choice, pledges transparency. Lukman says coalition won't hand over structures to Atiku, Obi, Amechi. Others says Dumebi Kachiku long expelled. Dumebi Kachiku has long been expelled. Okay, going to other stories here. Idris, coalition backers, buyers over alleged reform stagnation. talking about what is going on around the country. As a lot have said, there's reform stagnation, and this person, Idris, is returning that no, they are being biased. That's not the true state of the nation. There's a Bloomberg report here above the masthead of the This Day newspaper. It says Naira breaks away from oil as confidence in federal government reforms grows. Appreciate to 154 Naira per dollar, 1,540 rather, 1,540 Naira to a dollar on parallel market. There was such a time we never thought we would get here, but I guess we celebrate 1,540 Naira to a dollar. Okay, yeah, I was reading comments on a certain headline earlier, and someone said that seems like big people problem. I can't be bothered with how much dollar is, because concern me. Some of us have not seen dollar before, but it affects a lot of things indeed, and we had thought that with the refineries down, with having the Dangote refineries running, the pressure on the Naira would be less, as we will no longer be interacting in so much dollars to get some products into the country, especially especially the what's it called now, petroleum product. Okay, quickly we move on to the Punch newspaper. The last paper we'll be taking on this segment says 2027 presidency. Mark cautions Atiku Obi as federal government slams coalition chiefs. Mark cautions Atiku Obi as federal government slams coalition chiefs. And the writer here says presidency, Mark clash over Tinubu's reform. Presidency, Mark clash over Tinubu's reform. APC, PDP chieftains join ADC in Borno, Gombe, Ondo, and Jigawa state. Moving away from that, U.S. cuts Nigeria's visa validity to 3 months. Nigerians have been reacting to that, wondering why it is a 3-month validity. Maybe we should start thinking of doing things in country so that we would not have to be subjected to this embarrassing visa cuts. Natasha postpones Senate return as NAS awaits apology. Natasha postpones Senate return as National Assembly awaits apology. Presidency blasts Obi as Ohaneze demands Kanu's release. 2025 admissions, JAM sets 150 benchmark bars under 16. That is interesting to know. At the footer of the Punch newspaper, we have here custom. EFCC steps up airport surveillance against money laundering. 3 school children, Okada rider crushed to death in Oyo State. Adiola will run for Ogun governor in 2027. Aid confirms Adiola will run for Ogun governor in 2027. And that's it for the newspaper review segment. Like I said earlier, we'll be having the interview segment coming up next, where we'll be discussing this coalition, what it's in stock. I know that's the conversation everyone is on everyone's lips now. And when they are talking about it, we are here to discuss it for you. We'll be back after this short break.
The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. Independence for Nigeria in 1960 is imperative. But independence for Nigeria as a corporate entity is not enough. The peoples of Nigeria must at the same time be guaranteed their freedom. We must ensure that in an independent Nigeria, individual citizens throughout the land enjoy liberty, human dignity, and equality under the law. There must be one Nigeria with one constitution and one law for all. Let us therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, close our ears to the counsel of despair, which says that we cannot here at this conference agree on a constitution. If there's any doubt among us as to what should be written into the constitution, let us, as Democrats that we profess ourselves to be, refer such problems, as the goal has done recently, to the people whom we profess to represent, either just before or at the federal elections late in 1959. The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders,
our first efforts at democracy and self-government were abruptly arrested in the mid-60s, largely as a result of the incongenial atmosphere engendered by the uncompromising stance adopted by the political parties of the First Republic. Thus, opportunities were lost for our people to interact and learn to accommodate different points of view for the betterment of the country. We must not allow that episode to repeat itself. The new system that will have adopted presents us with yet another opportunity to achieve national integration, which is a prerequisite for the building of a strong and virile nation.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of Aso Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, Aso Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately in the fundamental human rights. We regard all races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race. I appeal to all our leaders, far and near, to forget the wounds which were inflicted in cause of our internecine altercations. The love of our country should outweigh the love of our pedestals. The enjoyment of individual freedom under the law should mean more to us than our self-centered party programs and manifestos. Common dangers and common enemies alert us on the need for common security. Come and join Abubakar with me, Sadauna, Awolowo, Akitola, Ofarebe, Okpara, Ikoku, Aminu Kano, Ibrahim Imam, and Taka. Let us bind the nation's wound and let us heal the breaches of the past so that in forging our nation, there shall emerge on this continent a hate-free, fear-free, and greed-free people who shall be in the vanguard of a world task force whose assignment is not only to revive the stature of man in Africa, but to restore the dignity of man in the world. The challenge of Nigeria as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately.
Welcome back from that. Well, as you must have noticed in the papers this morning, the stories that were rife were just ADC, the coalition, banter between the presidency and the ADC leaders. It's been very interesting to watch. But what indeed is this coalition planning to achieve? With this coalition, what is in it for Nigerians? Is it just a coalition that is all against the president's 2027 bid, which seems to be what is the narrative and messaging being sent out there? We want the president not to succeed in 2027. That seems to be it. But we have the National Lead ADC Coalition Support Network, Barrister Maurice Ebam, who also was the national youth leader of the political party. Welcome to the welcome to ASO. For some time now, he used to be a regular.
I miss ASO Radio.
He used to be a regular here on ASO TV.
I want to wait for national assignment. Because to salvage this country is a national assignment. So good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Abuja. Dr. Joy, it's good to see you. Looking radiantly and beautiful as always. This is a pride and hope of Nigeria and Africa. So I'm happy to be here with you. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's talk about how this coalition happened. Unfortunately, we do not have much time. So
yeah, but so I think first of all, thank you very, very much, and I also want to apologize openly.
See, listen, this is manipulative. Apologizing on national TV doesn't make it any better. You have.
At least I had some decency to do that. So I want to thank you so much. And let me also take it to run down before now. So 2018 ADC was adopted by the 64 registered political parties. Yes. The CUPP, they adopted ADC as a part of the coalition. And 2018, the elder statesman Olusegun Obasanjo also adopted ADC. That was 2018, yes. So with the whole politics that happened there, and then the SDP ran with it, and there's a period that SDP became popular a bit. That was that was before 20. Yeah. After 1993, SDP has got so a bit when Donald Duke wanted even running for presidency. And then 2021, Nigerian youths online had an online post and they adopted ADC. So I'm trying to bring you a preamble of the coalitionness of ADC. Our logo is a handshake. So ADC, in fact, our logo says it all. We are the only political party that has a human face. The other people have broom, the other people have umbrella, but we have handshake. The other people have Papa, Mama, and Pikin, but we have handshake, connecting the different borders of Nigeria. So it's really exciting. Congratulations to Nigerians, first of all. Congratulations to Nigerians. Congratulations to everybody, me and you, because if you see, it's not just about, we have the old ADC, we have the new PDP, we have the new APC, we have the new SDP, we have the new Labour in ADC now. This is not just coming because we just want to come like what it came in 2015. But sincerely, Dr. George, this is 2025. In the next 5 years, it will be 2030. And thank God you are very, very articulated when it comes to SDG goals. We have not even reached half of it. But vis-a-vis the fact that we have the African Agenda 2063, ADC is a very political party that has an ideology. All the other political parties. So these persons that are coming into the party, true.
Okay, so
yes.
I want us to quickly have this conversation.
Yes,
you just mentioned the ideology, which is another concern political spectators have. You are talking about an ADC ideology.
Yes.
Let's cut the long story. ADC has been adopted once again by this coalition that comprises the likes of David Mark, Atiku, Babachel.
They say APC is not empty. PDP is not empty. We are not, in fact, they have been indoctrinated into the spirit of ADC.
Now that's what you claim.
No, they fact it for itself.
Okay, let's not.
These are bragging rights.
We are always argue.
No, it's not arguing. We are speaking facts.
We don't have to.
We are together with the spirit of handshake. We are together.
This your handshake is not working. It has never worked.
But it has always worked.
Okay, Maurice, let's get to the fact that you are talking about an ADC ideology, and you have this potpourri of people from different backgrounds, people who have been in the APC, strong figures in the ADC, in the APC rather. We have the likes of Atiku, who has been in the APC as well. El-Rufai, who has in fact, somebody made a statement saying in this same 2025, El-Rufai has been in the APC, ADC, PDP, and now the SDP and all of that. Now these are people with different perspectives to our political journey, vis-a-vis what we call ideology. Yes. How are you going to sustain?
Please, Dr. George, God bless for asking this question.
Thank you.
Yes, so that is why we have the ADC ideology. Mind you, ADC is not a new party that just came out. ADC is not a new party. This is the ideology of ADC that has kept it going. It's the ideology of ADC that even made this person thought it worthy. There are other political parties there. Why ADC?
Because ADC was accepted that kind of adoption,
but
where you would let go of your entire leadership plan. And by the way,
let me say something. It's better for me to be a small fish in a big pond than to be a big fish in a small pond. Please, this one answers the question. It's better for me like this, sitting down here, to be a small fish in a very big pond than to be a very big fish in a very small pond. That answers that question.
How does that answer the question?
We are Africans.
Again, you have not responded addressing the questions I just asked. Which is ADC now, or the adoption of ADC, is it one that subjects whoever comes in to the ideology that the ADC already holds onto, or you are going to formulate a new ideology? And which is it? Because that will determine the next questions that I have.
First of all, once again, I need to appreciate you for this question. So, before these persons came into our party, the NEC and NWC SATs, the ADC constitution was amended. See, you must be 10 steps.
So the ADC constitution was amended.
So you must be 10 steps ahead of your enemy. So let me also give you a better scenario. You know, now APC is now running. See, Nigeria should be telling ADC thank you. Nigerians should start telling ADC thank you, because all of a sudden we are seeing APC standing up now. They are now jittering.
But we have always talked about...
No. Now we now see a formidable opposition. Let us not be parochial with the truth. Let us say the truth what it is.
Maurice,
no, it is true.
I don't have the voice you have, so sometimes
this is called holy anger. This is passion speaking for the interest of Nigeria.
This is my penthouse.
Please,
I am in charge here. This is the kind of opposition we've always asked for.
Now we have it. What are we complaining about,
Who's
Nigerians?
complaining?
But you are complaining.
You're being very defensive.
Why would I be defensive? Because, see, let me tell you
just
something.
like other Nigerians,
Yes.
Maurice, I just want to learn what it constitutes. Are
I
you
have told
having
you
a
already.
new one? You have just mentioned that there is a constitution that has been amended,
Re-amended,
adjusted,
yes.
and or
to,
whatever.
to accommodate the new persons that came into the party. It was done so. Because in ADC, we believe in the wisdom of the elders and the strength of the youth. That is why, end of the day, see, let me tell you something. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was an opposition leader before he became president. That is why when I see people jump into APC, I look at them and laugh. They should be ashamed of themselves. Tinubu did it. See, thank God. See, do you know why we have opposition? To put the ruling party in check. It's positive criticism. We see under section 24 of the 1999 constitution, it talks about the duties of Nigerians to make positive contribution to the advancement and progress of Nigeria. That is what we are really doing. This is for a healthy democracy. Let's not get it carried away. This is for a healthy democracy, because without it there will be tyranny. That's why I say Nigerians should say this is, see, God has started answering Nigerians' prayer, and they started with ADC. The second one is that ADC's slogan is arise and shine. Under Isaiah, me, I'm a Christian, I will not hide it. Under Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1, arise and shine, that your time has come. This is the time for Nigeria to arise and shine. ADC wants Nigeria to become a superpower, and it's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible. That is why we are working with Dr. Joy. I want to say thank you to your platform, to Aso TV, and what you have been doing.
Exactly.
This is what you have been doing for a long time coming. These are the conversations we have been having, and it shows you that God didn't make mistake.
Okay. Now you have this potpourri of politicians who have, in their ways, come from what they're determined by themselves. There are political parties that are no longer working. In their resignation papers and letters, it was funny to see the PDP members who are resigning to the ADC telling you, oh, the ADC, the PDP is a sinking ship, the PDP no longer stands, and all of that. The APC is telling you, oh, I do not have access to the presidency, I do not, and all sorts of reasons. What is in place? What mechanisms are in place to ensure that the issues that we have recorded in other opposition parties, look at the Labour Party today, it has internal parallel leadership, unfortunately. We have that in the NNPP. These are individuals who have not necessarily proven to Nigerians in their own capacities in times when they had to serve, proving to Nigerians that they can achieve. These are individuals who are in the ADC. Why should Nigeria trust ADC with the potpourri of these same individuals that we had called the ones that are on the table that are not ensuring people-centric policies?
Most times they say the righteousness of the foolishness of God is
when
the righteousness
you finish with your proverb, answer the question.
Okay. So let me just go straight to the point. We have the ADC DNA, and that is why when you introduce me, I'm one-time national leader of the ADC. I've been actively involved.
But it seems like you're no longer the youth leader
based on the. No, that is why I'm telling you now. That is why the mechanism ADC Coalition Support Network was formed at the same place. We are all about the ADC. We are all about. Because end of the day we have the ADC. Before these people came, like I said, we have the old ADC. We have the new PDP. We have the new APC. We have the new SDP. We have the new Labour. Now in ADC now, all of us must cohabit together. And now in ADC we have the ADC DNA. And that is why modalities are already being put in place. Modalities, when I tell you modalities, we have hit the ground running. That waiting happen for Labour Party, no go happen for you. Waiting happen for APC, no go happen for you. And APC is a sinking ship already. Power belongs to God. What is APC without Tinubu? What is APC with? Let us say this thing. Let us say the two. Yeah. What is APC without Tinubu? That people are doing APC. So let us, Tinubu is one man. No Nigeria is more Nigerian than any other Nigerian.
Absolutely.
So Nigerians will understand our power belongs to the people sincerely. And ADC, I want to tell Nigerians, hold me accountable. Hold me accountable.
Who are you?
Who am I? Who owns the structures of ADC?
Is it you?
Who owns? We have seen. They come here. They meet people for ground. No. Okay. We know they come here. They see us the people for pocket. We have been working.
Okay,
so
the reason why ADC can be susceptible to such a plan or alignment is one of the reasons you have mentioned. So now you have mentioned how the coalition, for you remember,
before
all
I say
the registered party,
yes.
ADC again accepted to be adopted for the deregistered party. Now, in spite of all that had happened, though you mentioned the former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, endorsing ADC at some point and all that, ADC did minimally during the just concluded elections. Why is that, and what do you think will change? So, and do you think that aligning with the numbers that Atiku had, aligning with the numbers that Peter Obi had during the elections would improve the ADC? And if so, are Nigerians obedient, for instance? Do they trust that alignment with the likes of Atiku?
Well, Dr. Joy, when I remember you, I feel so proud to be a he for she. Yes, I feel so proud to be. I see a woman of tenacity, sagacity. I'm coming. I'm being a preamble.
You don't have much time.
No, I know, but we have to be cautious with words. So the truth about it, Dr. Joy, with all these plethora of stars now in ADC right now, that is why we are there. And I want Nigerians to understand that the power belongs to the people. Power belongs to the people, but this is what we have been praying for. We needed a formidable opposition. We needed, first of all, I also want to say thank you to Dr. Chief Rav Okenwosu. Yes, Chief Rav Okenwosu is the former national chairman of ADC. It takes sacrifice. You see other political parties, Africans are known for one thing. They are so put to power. They want to remain in power. Whether it's working or not working, they want to. But if a man that says that's okay, no problem, that instead of being hanging up to power without it for a greater good, let me sacrifice for a greater good. That is what Chief Rav Okenwosu did. And we are very, very happy about it. And you talked about why ADC did not perform well in 2023 election. I want to answer you that question. It's a holistic discussion we're having. In 2022, you asked me who I was. In 2022, we had the Abeokuta convention in Abeokuta, and there where Dumebi emerged as the presidential candidate. And before when Dumebi came to the party, I told the NWC, I don't trust this man. He looked, you understand, and there are a lot of politics that really happen. I saw in fact, that is one where we've had one or two distances in the party, but because of the issue, because we saw it from the beginning that Dumebi is a scam. Yes.
No, I would.
I'm telling you something.
No, you have
okay, let me take back my word. Let me refrain my word. It's a con man.
No, that is not any better. Barrister Morris, but
it is what it is. It is what it is.
Legal practitioner.
No,
you are what people should understand.
I let him take me. I will defend myself. I will defend myself.
But you not use
I will defend myself.
I would rather you do not use my platform.
I take back my word. But this is to show you that I'm trying for the lack of words to say. I will not even say anything. But the message has been passed. You understand? See, right now in the spirit we have anybody that says that he wants a meaningful and better Nigeria that is not supporting ADC this coalition is the enemy of the people. Let me say it front and black. Anybody that's in Nigeria now, if you're in Nigeria with all these things happening to us, that is suffering,
that is anybody who knows the tendencies of an El-Rufai, knows the tendencies.
It is better to see
of an Atiku, knows the tendencies of Peter Obi and David Mark, and advised himself.
Has Nigeria ever believed that this man will ever come under one roof?
Of course, it's politics. It's politics.
No, this is not politics. It shows you why ADC is different.
No, but this coalition is not new.
This one, in the history of Nigeria, we have never had this kind of coalition before. In 1979, they had a coalition. In 2015, there was a coalition. There was never a coalition like this. No. We had a coalition in 2014, 2015, and that formed APC. But APC was formed, not an old existing party. This one, ADC, is the bedrock and the foundation. We have the ADC DNA. So this man coming to this thing, you see. We are going to show. I saw in the news they give us 6 months that we disembark. I don't look at them and laugh.
Because we're already seeing an aggrieved older APC.
Who are the people members that don't have party membership card? If you don't have party membership card, have you paid your party membership dues? Are you talking?
Sometimes when I call you on the
you don't want to use the truth.
Barrister Morris, when I call you on this show, I actually shiver. I cringe because not because I cannot stand the conversation, because you scream and I do not have the matching voice.
Dr. Joy, you have to get that. But I'm only giving you back. I'm only giving you facts.
Morris, we'll have to bring you back again.
Of course, I'll be no.
It's
a continuous thing. I thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for being part of this. Again, you are very, very what's the word now? Passionate about the ADC. And there's
Nigeria.
And there's one thing I can always bet about you.
Yes.
Whatever it is you decide is right. The passion for it. I saw you on the streets carrying
I'm not started with them.
ADC placards, and
I'm
like,
not started with
them.
Dr. Joy.
It can only be
this one has happened. See, Dr. Joy, I'm a young person. See, I don't have any other hope for Nigeria. I found my purpose in life. If I die doing this, I'll die empty.
Okay, so thank you so much, Barrister Mike. Barrister Morris, rather.
Yeah, well, all of us are M, so I appreciate it.
I have a Barrister Mike friend, actually.
Okay,
so thank you so much, Barrister Morris Ebam, National Lead ADC Coalition Support Network.
Thank you
so much for being part of the program. We'll bring you to say more. As usual, he sounds like a typical Nigerian politician.
No,
but this is my... But it's time for Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, where she'll be giving us those very important updates and everything you need to know around climate change, environment, environmental accountability, and so much more. Stay with us. We'll be back after that.
everyone, welcome to another powerful edition of Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, your weekly check-in on climate action, environmental justice, and sustainable living on the African continent. I'm your host, Ebaide, and today we are tackling a subject that affects what we eat, shop with, and even breathe in: plastic pollution. We're not just talking about the bottles and bags. We are diving into the engine room of change: policy. What is Nigeria doing to stop this plastic tide? Are laws working? What role does governance play in protecting our land, waters, and people from this crisis? Stay with me as we uncover the answers in this episode, titled Policy and Pollution: Where Nigeria Stands on Plastic Regulation. We're going to short break now, and when we return, we shall deep dive into all of these things and have a fruitful conversation. Stay with us. Do not go anywhere.
Africa stands at the front lines of the climate crisis, over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. 1 in 3 face food insecurity due to climate-induced droughts and floods. By 2050, over 100 million people on the continent could be pushed into extreme poverty because of climate change. Plastic waste is piling, forests are vanishing, coastal cities are sinking. Yet, we are not powerless. Africa is also the youngest continent with 60% of its population under 25. We hold the energy, innovation, and drive to reshape the future. From solar-powered villages to bold climate tech, from green entrepreneurs to eco-warriors in slums and cities, the pulse of sustainability is rising. This is Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, the show where truth meets urgency and action meets hope. Together, we decode the data, amplify the change makers, and reclaim Africa's future, one story at a time. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Welcome to The Pulse.
Welcome back from that short break. The conversation is still about policy and plastic pollution. Plastic is not just a pollution problem. It's a policy problem. You see, the plastic bottle on the roadside or the nylon float in the gutter isn't just litter. It's a signal. It tells us where enforcement is weak. It tells us where policy is absent or outdated. It tells us where governance is either reactive or missing entirely. Nigeria as a country, as a nation, generates an estimated 2.5 million tons of plastic waste annually. According to the World Bank, that's almost 7,000 tons per day. And less than 10% of it is recycled. Less than 10% of it. From Lagos to Kano, Port Harcourt to Jos, our streets, drainages and rivers are drowning in the flood of sachet, bags, wraps, cups and containers. But the bigger question is, are our laws moving faster enough to keep up with the problem? And where are these laws? Are they being enforced? This week, we're peeling the back from the layers of plastic regulation in Nigeria, the wins, the setbacks, and what needs to change. Now, let's take a pulse about the environment. Let's check on climate and environmental news from across the continent. Let's see where we are at currently and, of course, the best way to go forward. In Lagos, the recent ban on single-use styrofoam products is finally being enforced after months of public outcry. People have been shouting and, being aggressive about the whole conversation and ban on single-use. Despite resistance from food vendors, environmental officials say this is just the beginning of a larger crackdown. When you hear a crackdown, you can imagine what's next. And of course, in Rwanda and Kenya, they continue to lead the way in Africa with near total bans on single-use plastics. In Rwanda, carrying a plastic bag can earn you a fine. Or worse, while Kenya's plastic bag ban has reduced litter in urban areas by over 80%. Can you beat that? These are interesting times. I gave an example at the last episode of when I went to Kigali as far back as 2021, and you would pay for a shopping bag if you do not come to the store with your own bag. And at the United Nations Global Plastics Treaty negotiations, the African group is calling for fair, binding rules, including financial and technical support to help countries like Nigeria shift towards sustainable alternatives. Absolutely, I agree. The funding and technical support is needed to tackle this menace. Nigeria's legal framework on plastic. Let's talk law. Nigeria has 3 major policy instruments shaping how we address plastic waste. NESRIA, the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agency, issues regulations like the 2009 National Environmental Sanitation and Waste Control Regulation, which outlines waste management duties for states and businesses. However, compliance remains spotty due to limited enforcement and awareness. If you don't know, you can know. I keep saying it. You got to create awareness to drive implementation. And the truth is, enforcement and awareness go hand in hand. If you do not create awareness, you do not educate and inform, how will they know? You know, Extended Producer Responsibility, EPR, launched in 2013 and updated in 2020, is meant to hold producers accountable for the life cycle of their packaging. Meaning, as producers, you must fund recycling, take back programs, and even redesign products. But only a handful of companies are truly complying. Many treat it as optional. It's not supposed to be optional, it's supposed to be enforced. It's supposed to be enforced. If I produce something, then I must see to the lifespan of that thing. You know, and that needs to be forced. You'll be amazed how many companies will wake up if this is fully enforced. Plastic Waste Control Regulations 2020. These are Nigeria's latest attempt to crack down on plastic pollution. They promote phasing out single-use plastics, encourage sorting at source, and mandate public awareness. But then again, where is implementation muscle? The laws exist, the frameworks are there, but what's missing is a consistent, strategic, nationwide enforcement approach. The federal versus state policies. Are we speaking with one voice? What is said in Lagos, is it being said in Abuja? What's said in Abuja, is it being said in Kano? What's said in Kano, is it being said in Jigawa? Nigeria is a federation, and that can be both a blessing and a burden. Some states are pushing forward with their own plastic policies, while others lag behind. Take Lagos, for instance. Its ban on styrofoam and open dumping has earned praise. But what about Kano, or Bayelsa, or Jigawa, or Edo states? The disjointed nature of our federal system means a ban in one state doesn't carry over to the next. Exactly as a federation. I mean, states have reserve the right to come up with their own policies, and the policy mismatch weakens national momentum and makes it hard for producers and recyclers to plan. A company making biodegradable packaging in Lagos might find no market in a state that still subsidizes plastic. That's the truth. That's the truth. So are we moving in different directions, or are we finally speaking with one voice? And this goes on and on. The implementation and challenges are the major bottlenecks. Let's be honest. Really, passing a law is easy. That's the easiest part of it. But enforcing it, that's where Nigeria has struggled. Corruption and vested interests slows down enforcement. Some regulators turn a blind eye, especially when large producers are involved. Lack of infrastructure. We simply don't have enough recycling plants, sorting centers, or public bins. Even where facilities exist, that's the truth, many operate at less than 50% capacity due to poor waste segregation at source. Public apathy and fatigue, of course, so many people are tired. After years of inaction, citizens often think, why bother? Why do I have to abide? They are not wrong. Laws with no teeth make enforcement feel like a joke. Until we fix the back end, the systems that collect, sort, penalize, and incentivize policy will remain linked on paper. It's just be linked to one paper document. That's all. Nothing, no action. No action at all. So please, we'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we will examine the role of businesses and citizens in plastic regulation. A short break, and we're back.
Africa stands at the front lines of the climate crisis. Over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity. 1 in 3 face food insecurity due to climate-induced droughts and floods. By 2050, over 100 million people on the continent could be pushed into extreme poverty because of climate change. Plastic waste is piling, forests are vanishing, coastal cities are sinking. Yet, we are not powerless. Africa is also the youngest continent with 60% of its population under 25. We hold the energy, innovation, and drive to reshape the future. From solar-powered villages to bold climate tech, from green entrepreneurs to eco-warriors in slums and cities, the pulse of sustainability is rising. This is Sustainability Pulse with Ebaide, the show where truth meets urgency and action meets hope. Together, we decode the data, amplify the change makers, and reclaim Africa's future one story at a time. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Welcome to the Pulse.
Welcome back from that short break. As usual, this is not just a show, this is a movement. Now, we're talking about policy and pollution. The fact that we have our laws, beautiful laws and regulations in place, but we have issues with implementation. The enforcement is weak. And as a result of that, the response to that law, to that regulation, is not being paid any accord. Now let's look at the role of businesses and citizens in plastic regulation. Now, one of the greatest misconceptions about solving the plastic pollution crisis is that it is solely the responsibility of the government. That is not correct. But I mean, the truth is, you can't do anything without the government. The government can set the framework, yes, absolutely. Can pass the laws, can issue the guidelines, but without active participation of the private sector and the engagement of everyday Nigerians, even the most well-drafted policies will struggle to take root. Now, let's break it down into two powerful forces: businesses and citizens. The twin engines that can either accelerate or stall Nigeria's progress on plastic regulation. The role of business. The truth is, shaping the supply chain, in Nigeria, for example, when I say the plastic footprint, is heavily influenced by the way products are manufactured, packaged, and sold. This is where businesses come in, especially those in fast-moving consumer goods, And of course, when you talk about corporate responsibility in action, some Nigeria's largest multinationals have already taken steps recognizing their role in the pollution they create. Companies like Nestle Nigeria, Coca-Cola, and Guinness, have become members of the Food and Beverage Recycling Alliance. Yes, which is a very strong alliance, I hear. And private sector-led initiatives backed by the National Environmental Standards and Regulations Enforcement Agencies, NESRIA. Now, through this alliance, these companies commit to recovering post-consumer packaging. In other words, cleaning up what they've put out. You do something, you produce, you clean out. You're taking responsibility. Now, they are implementing models of extended producer responsibility, a globally accepted approach where producers take ownership of their products beyond the point of sale, especially after use. Now, it includes funding recycling programs, yes, partnering with waste collection services like what they do with Loma in Lagos, creating incentives for customers to create and return packaging for reuse or recycling. But here's the catch. These efforts are commendable, but they only scratch the surface. Nigeria's economy is not just powered by multinationals. Millions of small and medium-sized enterprises, street vendors, market women, packaging companies, supermarkets, fast food outlets continue to rely on cheap disposable plastic to survive. For many of them, sustainability is not a priority. Survival is. This is why we need incentivized policies that help small businesses transition gradually. Access to affordable, biodegradable alternatives, tax breaks for companies investing in eco-packaging, training and awareness programs on plastic alternatives, inclusion in plastic credit schemes where they can benefit financially from sustainable behavior. Unless we make it easier and economically viable for SMEs to go green, we will keep treating the symptoms of pollution while ignoring the roots. And that's the truth. We will keep ignoring the problem. And the role of citizen, it's actually enormous. It's enormous. Advocacy, accountability, and action. The truth is, you can be a citizen and you think it doesn't bother you, or it's not your thing, but it affects you. Like I keep saying on this particular program, that when we talk about sustainability in itself, you know, and living sustainably, it's about you saving your life. It's about you taking priority for what truly matters. It's about you caring for the planet where you live in currently. Too often, we actually underestimate the power we hold as citizens. But real lasting change always begins with people-led pressure. What can citizens do? What can I do? What can you do? Everyone watching here today, what can we do? Not the law. Start first by educating yourself on your local and state waste management laws. Lagos State, for example, now bans styrofoam, you know, single-use plastics and all of that. Are you aware of similar efforts in your state? Practice civic advocacy. Citizens have the right to demand cleaner environment. Yes. The Constitution of Nigeria, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under Section 20, even mandates the states to protect and improve the environment. It's a mandate there. But this must be activated by public demand. So do you even know it's your right to ask for this cleanups? It's your right. As much as possible, as citizens, participate in cleanups and local action. Beyond the online hashtags, physical participation in cleanup drives, recycling clubs, and neighborhood waste. Campaigns can be powerful, yes. So you need to go out and campaign, join, lend a voice. Do what I am doing with your friends, with your colleagues, with your church members. Every piece of plastic picked up is one less choking a drain or floating into the ocean. Start or join a petition. Do not underestimate the power of a well-organized petition. It is a legal tool of democracy, yes. If you don't know, better know now. When people organize and amplify a cause, decision makers, they listen. But you must be organized and be well amplified. A real example from Abuja was in 2021. A group of determined youth, climate activists in Abuja, launched a grassroots campaign. Their mission was to get the city council to ban single-use plastic at the official government events. But guess what? They actually gathered signatures, came together, created a simple social media movement, and just presented a policy brief. What was the result? What was the result? It was fine. The recommendation was made. Even though that ban, that single plastic use ban has not been implemented, but something was done. And a movement was created. You know, a movement was created. And recommendations were made, and the government officials were able to look at the recommendations to see what they can do. An effort was made. And that is it. Efforts have to be made. And this group, that was in 2021. Yeah, I remember vividly. They made so much, I've actually forgotten the name of the group now, but they made so much effort. They formed coalitions and they made strong recommendations on the ban of single use here in the FCT. That rang a bell. Even though, yes, it wasn't implemented fully, but recommendations were made, voices were heard, actions were taken. The government saw people in action, you know. And I mean, government at least responded by even calling them to the table to say, what do you mean? What do you explain to us exactly how you want us to drive this? You know, and those are the small things, you know, the government can do. Consistently and constructively, citizens can do their own bits, you know, all the time. And why does this matter? Why does this matter? Laws alone cannot solve the problem. We need a cultural shift. If businesses keep packaging water, drinks, bread, and suya in non-recyclable plastics, we remain stuck. Yes, we remain stuck. If citizens keep demanding convenience over sustainability, we enable the cycle. But imagine, just imagine yourself. Every business began designing products with their end of life in mind. So it means that I'm producing water, and how that bottle will be recycled is something that I will take into consideration while producing that bottle for that water. Every consumer carried a reusable bag or bottle. Just imagine that every consumer today, we have a reusable bag or bottle. Every neighborhood had a plastic recovery station. So there's a station in every local government or every ward where people go and drop, their plastics. Every community had a monitoring group that held governments, local governments accountable for environmental laws. Just imagine. That is how a culture of sustainability is born. Not just from policy, but from the collective habits of people and businesses working in tandem. Your voice matters. Your habits matter. Change starts with policy, but it's powered by the people. By all means, it's actually powered by the people. And here's a tip for the week. I would not leave here without dropping the tips, as usual. Say no to single-use plastic. I say it all the time, and I'm not tired of saying it. All the time we come here, we say it all the time. We mention it. Say no to single-use plastic. Carry your own shopping bag, reusable cup, your cutlery, even your metal straws. Have it in your bag. One person rejecting disposables can inspire 10 more. And when enough of us shift, businesses will take notice, and policy will follow suit. Also, educate others. By all means, when your neighborhood or local government area passes a law on plastic, share it. Awareness is enforcement's best friend. Did you get that? Awareness is enforcement's best friend. Awareness is enforcement's best friend. So when have we learned all of this? When we have learned all of this and it becomes part of us, then enforcement will be a lot easier. But first, we have to be aware. Nigeria has policies. We have signed so many. We've signed even international commitments. We have drafted regulations. But policy without action is no performance. And performance doesn't clean our gutters or save our oceans. No. Actual action. As citizens, we must hold our leaders accountable. We must demand stronger enforcement, better infrastructure, and incentives that reward circularity, not pollution. Remember this, laws shape culture, but voices shape laws. Let your voice rise through advocacy, through your daily choices, through how you vote and how you live. A clean, secular, plastic-free Nigeria isn't just a dream, no. It is possible, but only if we move from policy, from paper to the pavement. You've been listening to Sustainability Pulse with Abida. I hope that, as usual, you've taken home that very salient point on how you can live sustainably. I keep saying it. This is not just a show. This is a movement. And I urge you all, while living sustainably and thinking of the planet, you are thinking of yourself, you are thinking of your health, which is important. Saving the earth and saving the planet is as good as you saving yourself. Thank you for spending this time with me. Join us next week, as always. Shine a spotlight on yourself as an individual, as a citizen, and take charge. And take what? And take charge. And that is how Nigerians can rewrite history. We can actually rewrite the story of climate change. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles at TEI_advocacy for more inspiring conversations, for more inspiring, informative ideas on what you can do as an individual. Until next time, stay inspired, stay conscious, and stay committed. This is not just a show, it is a movement. Go out there and live sustainably and take into consciousness your daily habits. Until next time, see you next on Sustainability Pulse with Abida. Do have a blessed time. Thank you.
Our first efforts at democracy and self-government were abruptly arrested in the mid-60s, largely as a result of the incongenial atmosphere engendered by the uncompromising stance adopted by the political parties of the First Republic. Thus, opportunities were lost for our people to interact and learn to accommodate different points of view for the betterment of the country. We must not allow that episode to repeat itself. The new system that will have adopted presents us with yet another opportunity to achieve national integration, which is a prerequisite for the building of a strong and virile nation.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, channel 127, or YouTube live stream GSA Initiative.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Agriculture for Today and Tomorrow, where we promote smart solutions for greener harvest. I remain Daniel Black, your host, and remember, this is a media for agricultural development project of GSAI, that's Growth for Sustainable Agriculture Initiative, an NGO focused on supporting African farmers to develop sustainable agricultural practices. How has your week been? It's been a beautiful week with trickles of rainfall here in Abuja. How has it been in other parts of the country? We know that we are slowly going towards the peak of the rainfall, and then probably in a few weeks' time we'll be expecting the what we usually call the August break, which is a few weeks of dry spell. And as a farmer, you're aware that we are already this year's August break might take a bit longer than is expected as projected by NIMET. Yeah, it's something that you need to know about and begin to plan what will be your irrigation alternative. So today, over the past few, we've done like 2 episodes on best farm practices for livestock crop farmers in the past days, showing them different things they need to do to ensure that they are able to maximally maximally yield from their farms. And today we are going to be focusing on best farm practices for livestock farmers in the rainy season. Of course, the rainy season is a time so many farmers, the crop farmers, are expecting, but like we have established that it comes with so many challenges and all, and so we need to be able to mitigate those challenges so that we can also get the best of the rainy season. So yeah, today we'll be talking about best farm practices for livestock farmers in the rainy season. What should livestock farmers do to ensure that the rainy season comes not just with a blessing, but the causes or the damages, the challenges, the obstacles of the rainy season are left behind? Best farm practices for livestock. So we'll be delving right into it. What are the best farm practices livestock farmers are supposed to carry out in this rainy season? So we'll be talking about the very first one, which is very, very important, because over the dry season, there's a possibility that so many things would have gone wrong and the farmer is not aware. But while preparing for the rainy season, we have to, number one, improved housing and drainage. Improved housing and drainage. Farmers need to start looking at their housing and drainage system. Depends, for those of us that are doing cage systems where we are putting our animals in cages, have we checked about the roof? Have we checked that there are no leakages? Have we checked that there are no openings or unnecessary openings? Because throughout the dry season, it is possible that the roof may be leaking, or because water is not dripping on it, you are not aware whether it is leaking or not. there could be some openings because water is not there, there is no rainfall, and there is no flooding, water is not coming into it. You do not know that your grounds have cracked, especially due to the temperature during the dry season. So it is important that you recheck your pens, you recheck your cages, you recheck for openings so that reptiles have not opened, because during this rainy season the reptiles will come out more often. And then if there are open places, if the security of your pens and your cages are not put in place, then you might have a situation where your housing and drainage. So you need to elevate your pens, because of course you need to understand that during the rainy season there will be massive flow of water. Your pens have to be elevated, have to be lifted above this ground level to ensure that as water is flowing, that there is no flooding of your pens. So of course, ensure livestock shelters are raised above flood level. Use concrete and compacted floors with adequate slope to prevent water stagnation. Of course, roof maintenance, repair leaks, and ensure proper roofing to keep animals dry. And then of course there's a drainage system you have to look at to ensure that there is no stagnant water in place. We'll go to number 2, strict biosecurity and hygiene. How is your biosecurity measure? How is your hygiene measure? Some things could actually go on without consequence in the dry season, because during the dry season microorganisms do not really thrive. The temperature is not really favorable for them, but because of the humidity in the air, because of the reduced temperature, microorganisms tend to thrive more during the rainy season. And then some things that you overlooked, some unhygienic practices that you overlooked, you have to take intentional consciousness about them. So in strict biosecurity, you need to clean your pens regularly. If you used to clean it once in 2 weeks before, you need to clean it every week, because apart from even your environment, the air, the humidity is moving a whole lot of things, and you do not know from the environment what has been introduced into your pen. You have to do foot bath. Foot bath is place disinfectant foot baths at every point to reduce pathogen spread, even both for animals and both for humans that are coming into your farm. There has to be foot baths that they disinfect their legs. People that have coming from different places need to disinfect their legs before they enter your farm, to reduce the number of external pathogens that they are bringing into your farm. Of course, you need to limit movement, restrict the entry of people and vehicles to reduce chances. It should not be, your farm should not be an all-comers affair where every Tom, Dick, and Harry is entering your farm. It should be strictly on need only. Who is coming? Is it the veterinary? Is it the workers? It should not just be a tourist site where everybody can walk in. There should be a restricted zone this rainy season to reduce the number of, introduction of external organisms in your farm. So number 3, we'll also be talking about disease prevention and veterinary care. How many of livestock farmers, how many of us do actually have a veterinary doctor on call that can be checking and ensuring that proper immunization, proper deworming is carried out? So disease prevention, you do not need to wait until there's a disease outbreak. You actually need to ensure that you are in the preventive. So you begin to deworm them, you begin to give them vaccination against these diseases that are that are airborne, that are prevalent during the rainy season, because during the rainy season it is very cross infection happens very fast. If one pen, if one poultry, if one goat pen is infected, if it is not handled with speed of lightning, it can infect others, and before you know, you are having an outbreak in your farm, you are having an outbreak in a community. So it is important that you are on the preventive. And then regular health checks. You check out for signs of pneumonia. If your goats are bleating unnecessarily, you need to check. If your if your poultry is coughing, some of us do not even know that our hens can cough. If your poultry is coughing, or you notice that they are very weak in their movement, you notice some abnormal pattern in their activities, you should not delay. You should not say, tomorrow I'll come and confirm. That same day, within the hour, you should begin to put out curative measures. If not, in the space of 1 hour, you can lose as many birds as possible. So during this rainy season, it is important, if you're going to be keeping birds, it is important that you have your disease prevention and hygiene standards in place. And then we'll now also move to nutrition and feed management, nutrition and feed management. This is very, very key. In the rainy season, they tend to eat a lot more. And if you are not careful about how you manage, you store your feeds, both the storage of the feed is very, very important. Storage of the feed is very, very important because in this period, there's possibility of mold to grow in your feeds. So the nutrition, store feed properly. Where they are stored, it has to be dry, it has to be aerated, and then you have to, even when you're taking out the feed to go and give, you have to check, because if you give your animals feed that has molded, feed that has spoiled, feed that has begun to rotten, there is tendency for you to introduce sickness into them. So airtight, moisture resistant containers, raised storage off the ground. Yes, when you're storing your feed, you do not put your feed on the ground because they have this ability to absorb moisture into the feed. And of course, once it absorbs moisture, for those of you that maybe keep gari or keep rice, you know what it happens. This kind of grains, feeds are grains, are mashed grains, and of course they can absorb moisture and swell and begin to create mold. So most times it's good to use pallets, not just you use pallets and then you cover it with maybe tarpaulin or leather, something. It should not be directly on the ground. That is the best way to store your feed in this rainy season. Of course, you supplement feeding, compensate for reduced grazing quality by providing hay, silage, and concentrates. For those that, for your animals that go out to graze, of course, during this rainy season, they may not be able to graze effectively, probably because of mud in the grazing area, probably because of excessive insects, or probably so many factors can come into play. So you have to provide dry hay for them. You have to supplement their feeding with dry hay, with and other supplementals that you can have. And then salt and mineral blocks. Provide extra nutrients as wet food forage may lack essential nutrients. Like we just mentioned, your nutrients your wet foliage, your wet food may lack essential nutrients. So you have to be intentional in supplementing the nutrients for them. So of course, salt and mineral blocks are examples of ways you can supplement nutrients for them, because if you rely during the dry season, they can go all year round, all month round, all week round, eating just foliage. But in the rainy season, there is a gradual shift, there is a slight shift in the nutrient quality of your feed. And it is important that you intentionally supplement them to ensure that these feed actually do well. Number 5, we also have to manage grazing carefully. For those animals like goats, like sheep, like rabbits that go out to graze, rotational grazing, it is important that you move them from one place to the other. Overgrazing, avoid overgrazing waterlogged areas to prevent soil erosion, and of course hoof diseases. The hoof diseases is what they take in waterlogged environment. So it's important that you do not graze your animals in waterlogged areas, and you do not also overgraze in a particular area, because by the time you overgraze and they've eaten the grass down to almost the roots, there's a potential for erosion, for waterlogging in that place, and then of course within the period you cannot even use it again. So it is important that you move them from one place to the other. While moving them to different grazing zones, these other parts are growing and replenishing, and then you can come back after a period of time. So during this rainy season, there needs to be rotational grazing, moving them from one location to the other to ensure that there's compensation of both the nutrients, and even the animals are protected from diseases. Because of course, like we've mentioned, if they go into a waterlogged area, there is a high potential for them to get infection. Of course, then they limit the grazing time. So reduce exposure during peak rainfall hours and provide shelter during storms. So it is important that, like we have all talked about in improving housing and drainage, that you have a place where they can stay dry during rainy season. It is not safe to expose your animals during rainy season, during the rains, to be wet continually. During the rains, they have to be in a shelter, they have to be dry, and of course, even while being in the shelter, there has to be dry food available for them. So this goes hand in hand with the fact that you need to have an improved shelter a shelter that is way better than what it was during the dry season. The dry season shelter cannot be the same as the rainy season shelter because the elements are very, very different. The wind, as it is coming with water. The air, as it is coming humidified. The temperature on its own is cold, and so many things. So they have to have a place where they can maintain their body temperature. So of course, avoid moldy grass, prevent access to moldy or rotten grass, which can be toxic. So it is important that if you're even taking them out to graze, you have to inspect the grazing area and ensure that they are grazing on healthy grass. They are grazing on healthy nutrients. They are not just grazing randomly on any and everything, and because they can just go out and graze randomly and come back with diseases that can wipe out your entire livestock farm. It is important that we do that. And finally, breeding and reproduction management. So avoid breeding in peak rainy season. Yes, for those that are intentional livestock farmers, it is usually good to breed during the dry season because all those factors are manageable. Even the animals, even the kidlings or the baby animals that are coming up will be easy to manage during the dry season. So avoid, if you can manage your breeding period, avoid peak rainy seasons like September, October, November. If you can use that period for other things than breeding, it would be very, very excellent. So high stress and disease risk can affect fertility. Then provide dry calving kidding pen. So to reduce neonatal infections and ensure warmth for newborns, if they must breed during the dry season, during the rainy season, I beg your pardon, there must be a very, 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 very conducive shelter for them. And of course, it is not the same shelter that the older animals will be using. It is a very conducive, a very dry shelter that can keep them in temperate conditions for them to grow and also develop the immunity and develop the necessary system to withstand whatever harsh conditions that will be coming to them in the pen. So yeah, these are some of the things we'll be taking for today, just about 6 of them in this episode of best farm practices for livestock farmers in the rainy season. I don't know if you've learned something, if you've seen something, or if there's something you'd like to add. In part 2, we'll be continuing with other best farm practices, about another 6 of them, so that we want to see our farmers enjoying and maximizing their yield this period. We want to see farmers blessing the rainy season rather than feeling like it was a curse to them. And these are the things that farmers need to do to be able to make sure that the rainy season is a profitable season for them. I remain Daniel Black, your host, and this has been Agriculture for Today and Tomorrow, where we promote smart solutions for greener harvest. Remember to follow us on social media, GSA Initiative, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and of course on YouTube at GSA Initiative, and then continue the conversation there. You'll see the conversation on today's post, on today's conversation. Make a comment there. What do you think are other practices livestock farmers should engage in to ensure that they are profitable in this dry season? See you in the next episode. Thank you.